I transferred to a school halfway through junior year because my mom got a better job across town. I hated it at first. Everyone already had their groups, their inside jokes, their assigned seats that weren't assigned but somehow still belonged to them. I was just trying to get through the year without being noticed too much. The class was third period history, the kind of room that always felt too warm because the windows didn't open right. Our teacher, Mr. Harlan, had this habit of leaning against his desk while he talked, one hand wrapped around a coffee mug, like he was telling us something important, even when it was just about the Industrial Revolution. I sat in the second row from the back. Behind me was a kid named Tyler. I didn't know him well. Nobody really did, I guess. He wasn't the quiet kid people make jokes about later on the news. He talked sometimes. He laughed at stuff. He wore the same gray hoodie almost every day and kept his backpack on the floor between his feet, even when the teacher told us to hang them on the hooks. That morning felt normal in the boring way school usually feels normal. Someone was whispering about a math test. 2 girls were sharing earbuds. A guy near the window kept clicking his pen until Mr. Harlan told him to stop. We were taking notes when Tyler leaned forward and said my name. I turned halfway around. His face looked pale, but not sick. More like he hadn't slept. "Can I ask you something?" he whispered. I shrugged. "Yeah?" He looked toward Mr. Harlan, then back at me. "You ever feel like people only act nice because they're scared of looking bad?" I didn't know what to say to that. It was too heavy for third period history. I just gave a small laugh because I thought maybe he was joking. "I guess," I said. He nodded like that confirmed something. Then he reached down into his backpack. At first I thought he was getting a notebook. He always moved slow, like every motion took extra effort. But then I saw the shape of it before I understood what I was looking at. A handgun. It was dark and dull, held low near his lap, half covered by the sleeve of his hoodie. My body reacted before my brain did. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like I missed a step on stairs. Everything in the room kept going like normal. Mr. Harlan kept talking. The pen clicked once more. Someone coughed. A chair leg squeaked. Tyler wasn't pointing it at anyone. He wasn't waving it around. He was just holding it, staring down at it like he'd found it there by accident. I turned back around fast, too fast, and faced the front. My hands started shaking under the desk. I pressed them against my thighs so nobody would see. I remember staring at the date written on the board. October 18th. It was written in blue marker, with the 8 slightly bigger than the other numbers. That detail stuck in my head because I couldn't look anywhere else. Behind me, Tyler shifted in his chair. I could hear the fabric of his hoodie move. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my chair through the window, but my body wouldn't do any of it. I just sat there, trying to breathe without making noise. Mr. Harlan asked a question to the room. Nobody answered. He smiled in that tired teacher way. "Come on, people. We talked about this yesterday." A few kids laughed. Tyler leaned forward again. "Don't say anything," he whispered. His voice wasn't angry. That was the worst part. It sounded almost tired, like he was asking me not to mention he had gum. I nodded without turning around. My throat felt so tight I thought I might throw up. For the next few minutes, I watched everything like it was happening from across the room. Mr. Harlan walked to the whiteboard. The girl beside me underlined something in pink highlighter. Someone's phone buzzed inside a backpack. I kept waiting for a loud sound. Every tiny noise made my shoulders jerk. Then Tyler stood up. The whole class noticed because nobody stands up in the middle of notes unless they're going to the bathroom or about to get in trouble. Mr. Harlan turned around. Tyler? Tyler had one hand inside the front pocket of his hoodie. His other hand held the strap of his backpack. "Can I go to the nurse?" he asked. His voice cracked a little. Mr. Harlan looked at him for a second. I think he could tell something was off, but not what. "Are you okay?" Tyler nodded. "I don't feel good." Nobody spoke. Mr. Harlan reached for the hall pass on his desk. "Take this." Tyler didn't move toward it. He just stood there, eyes fixed on the door. That was when I noticed his hand in the hoodie pocket looked stiff, not relaxed, not normal. The gun was in there. I knew it. I could see the shape pushing at the fabric. Mr. Harlan noticed too. His face changed so slightly most people probably missed it. His smile went away. His eyes lowered for half a second to Tyler's pocket, then came back up to his face. "Tyler," he said calmly, "why don't you leave your backpack here?" Tyler looked at him. The room went completely still. Even the pen stopped clicking. Tyler's jaw moved like he was chewing on words he couldn't get out. "I just need to go," he said. Mr. Harlan didn't raise his voice. "Okay, you can go. Just set the backpack down first." The silence got thicker. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Tyler looked around the room then, not dramatically, just a quick glance across all of us. His eyes passed over me, and I looked down immediately. I didn't want him to think I had betrayed him. I didn't want him to think anything about me at all. He slowly slipped the backpack off his shoulder. For 1 second, I thought he was going to do it. I don't even know what it meant. Pull the gun out, yell, start crying, something. Instead, he dropped the backpack on the floor. It landed with a heavy thud. A girl in the front row flinched and covered her mouth. Mr. Harlan stepped away from his desk and said, "Everybody stay seated." Then he looked at Tyler and said, "Walk with me." Tyler didn't answer. He walked toward the door with Mr. Harlan beside him. Mr. Harlan kept himself between Tyler and the rest of us, but he did it so naturally that I didn't understand until later. When they reached the doorway, Tyler stopped. His shoulders started moving up and down. He was crying, but quietly. His face twisted like he was trying hard to hold it in and failing. He whispered something I couldn't hear. Mr. Harlan put one hand out, palm open. Tyler stared at it. Then, very slowly, he pulled the gun from his hoodie pocket and placed it in Mr. Harlan's hand. Nobody screamed. Nobody moved. The gun looked smaller once it was out in the open, which somehow made it worse. It looked real, heavy, final. Mr. Harlan set it on the floor behind him and stepped on it with one shoe. "Go," he said to Tyler, still calm, into the hall. Tyler walked out. Mr. Harlan kicked the gun backward into the room, away from the door, then shut the door and locked it. That was when everything broke. A girl started sobbing. Someone cursed under their breath. The guy by the window shoved his chair back and ducked under the desk like he thought something else was coming. I just sat there staring at the floor where Tyler's backpack had landed. Mr. Harlan picked up the classroom phone with a hand that was shaking so badly he dropped it once. He called the office and said words I'll never forget. I need security and police in room 214. Student had a weapon. It is secured. He is in the hallway. Had a weapon. Secured. Those words sounded too official for what had just happened. We stayed in that room for almost an hour. Police came. The principal came. They made us keep our hands visible when they entered, even though most of us were crying. They took the gun. They took the backpack. They asked us questions one by one. Tyler didn't shoot anyone. That was the sentence everyone kept repeating later, like it made the day easier to understand. He didn't shoot anyone, but for months I couldn't sit with my back to a door. I couldn't hear a backpack hit the floor without my chest tightening. I couldn't look at the date October 18th without feeling the room get warm again, without hearing Tyler whisper behind me, "Don't say anything." People at school moved on faster than I expected. They painted over the scuff mark where Mr. Harlan's shoe had pinned the gun to the floor. They brought in counselors for 2 days. Then announcements went back to normal. Pep rally Friday. Picture retakes. Lunch menu changes. Tyler never came back. Nobody told us what happened to him, not officially. Rumors filled in the blanks. Some said he had a list. Some said the gun wasn't loaded. Some said he only brought it because he wanted someone to stop him. I don't know which version is true. What I do know is that a week later I saw Mr. Harlan alone in the parking lot before school. He was sitting in his car with both hands on the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. He didn't see me. His coffee sat untouched on the dashboard. The bell rang, and students started walking inside like nothing had changed. Mr. Harlan stayed in the car for another full minute. Then he wiped his face, picked up his mug, and went back into the building to teach us history. Back in 2016, I was in third period English, sitting near the windows. My teacher, Mrs. Ellison, was one of those teachers who tried hard to act calm all the time. She spoke softly, kept a little jar of peppermints on her desk, and always wore cardigans even when the room was warm. We had just started a worksheet when the intercom clicked on. At first, nobody looked up. Our school made announcements constantly. Sports reminders, club meetings, someone's lost keys, that kind of thing. But this time there was no cheerful office voice. There was only breathing. A few people laughed, thinking someone had accidentally left the mic on. Then the principal came over the speaker, and his voice sounded flat in a way I had never heard before. "Teachers, initiate lockdown procedures immediately. This is not a drill." The room changed instantly. It was like every sound got pulled out of the air. Mrs. Ellison froze for half a second, then moved fast. She shut off the lights, locked the door, and pulled down the little paper cover over the narrow window. We had practiced lockdowns before, but during drills people whispered, rolled their eyes, and checked their phones. This was different. Nobody joked. We all moved to the corner by the bookshelves, away from the door. There were 26 of us packed together on the floor, knees touching, backpacks digging into people's legs. Mrs. Ellison held one finger to her lips and crouched beside us. My phone buzzed almost right away. It was my mom. "Are you okay? Your school just texted us." I typed back, "I'm okay. Lockdown. I don't know what's happening." Then another message came in from my friend Evan, who was in the science wing. "There's cops outside." Before I could answer, another message appeared. "Someone's in the building." I stared at those words until they didn't look real anymore. Across from me, a girl named Brianna started crying silently. Her friend wrapped both arms around her and pressed her face into her shoulder to keep her quiet. A boy near me had his hands over his ears, even though there wasn't any noise yet. Then we heard it. Not a scream, not a gunshot, a slam. It came from far down the hall, heavy and sudden, like a door being kicked open or something large hitting lockers. Everyone stiffened. Mrs. Ellison slowly lifted her hand, telling us not to move. Another slam came. Closer this time, then footsteps. They were not running. That somehow made it worse. They moved slow and uneven, stopping every few seconds. We could hear them because the hallway outside our classroom had old tile floors that carried every sound. One step, pause. 2 steps, pause. Someone's phone lit up in the dark. Mrs. Ellison quickly grabbed it and turned the screen against the floor. Her hand was shaking so badly the phone tapped against her ring. The footsteps stopped outside a classroom down the hall. For a few seconds there was nothing. Then the door handle rattled. Hard. A girl beside me made the smallest sound, almost like she had swallowed a gasp. The boy next to her pressed his palm over her mouth, not rough, just desperate. The handle kept moving. Then it stopped. The footsteps started again, closer. I remember noticing stupid details because my brain didn't know what else to do. The dust under the bookshelf, the smell of someone's mint gum, the way Mrs. Ellison's cardigan sleeve had a loose thread near the wrist. My own heartbeat felt too loud, like it might give us away. The footsteps stopped outside our door. No one breathed. The handle moved once, then again. The lock held. There was a long pause, then something touched the paper covering the door window. It made a soft pressing sound. Not a knock, not a hit, just pressure. The paper bowed inward a little, like someone had leaned their face or hand against the glass and was trying to see through the edges. I could see the shape of it in the darkness. Mrs. Ellison's eyes were wide open. She had one hand raised, palm toward us, begging us without words to stay still. The pressure on the paper shifted. Then came a sound that made my stomach turn cold. A low, dragging breath from the other side of the door, slow, patient, like whoever it was knew we were in there. The person stayed there for so long that my legs started to cramp. I wanted to move, even just an inch, but I couldn't. My body felt locked in place. Then from somewhere else in the school, a fire alarm started blaring. The sound was so sudden that half the class flinched. The red strobe outside the hallway window flashed through the edges of the paper cover, filling the room with quick pulses of light. Nobody moved. We had been told since freshman year that during a lockdown, you do not leave for a fire alarm unless police or staff physically come get you. Still, the alarm messed with everyone's head. It screamed and screamed, and somewhere in the building I heard students yelling. The person outside our door moved away. The footsteps faded down the hall. For a minute, we thought that was the worst of it. Then someone started pulling on the emergency exit doors near the stairwell. The metal shook over and over, loud enough to cut through the alarm. After that came more shouting, not words I could make out, just panic, orders, maybe crying. It all blended together. My phone buzzed again. Evan, he's near us. Then another message. Our teacher won't let us leave. Then nothing. I kept staring at the screen, waiting for the typing dots to appear. They didn't. The lockdown lasted 43 minutes, but it felt like an entire afternoon had passed. Eventually, the alarm stopped. The silence after it was almost worse. We heard police yelling from somewhere down the hall, then radios crackling, then boots moving fast. Finally, someone pounded on our door and shouted, "Police, open up." Mrs. Ellison didn't move right away. I think she was scared it was a trick. Then they shouted again, this time saying her name, and she unlocked the door with both hands. The hallway looked normal and completely different at the same time. There were papers scattered everywhere. A trash can was tipped over. One locker near the science hallway was dented inward. Police officers stood at both ends of the corridor, pointing us toward the exit with their hands lowered but tense. We walked out in a line with our hands visible. No one talked. As we passed the stairwell, I saw something on the floor that made me look away fast. It wasn't a body. It wasn't blood. It was just a backpack lying open, with everything spilled out, including a half-eaten granola bar and a little keychain shaped like a cartoon frog. For some reason, that is what broke me. Outside, parents were packed behind police tape. Some were crying, some were screaming names. My mom found me near the football field and grabbed me so hard I could barely breathe. I kept telling her I was okay, even though I didn't feel okay at all. Later, we found out the person was not a student. He had gotten into the building through a side entrance that didn't latch properly. He had been seen around town before, usually talking to himself near the bus station. That day, he came into the school carrying a backpack full of random tools, wires, and old family photos that weren't his. He never hurt anyone badly. That was the phrase everyone kept using. No one was badly hurt, like that made it clean, like it erased the fact that he stood outside our door, breathing through the glass. Evan was fine. His class had been closer to the stairwell, and their teacher had shoved a filing cabinet in front of the door. He didn't text me back because his phone died. I was relieved, but I also hated him a little for scaring me that badly, which made no sense. School reopened the next week. They added new locks. They put security officers by the entrances. Teachers gave speeches about being strong and returning to normal. But it never felt normal again. Every time the intercom clicked, my chest tightened. Every time someone walked slowly down the hallway, I stopped listening to whatever the teacher was saying.